here is a nice example. For the first few weeks or months, I just didn't think I should go pick it up. And then at some point I thought, well, I'll start picking up just a few pieces and take them home and see what I can do with it.
Some on Villa Road saw their inner world as the route to changing society. Louise Eichenbaum had come to London from New York as a trained psychotherapist, attracted by British feminist writing. From her squat in Villa Road, she set up the Women's Therapy Centre with Susie Orbach, believing that therapy could be harnessed to left-wing goals.
For me, psychoanalysis and psychotherapy absolutely came right out of my political activity, because as a feminist, we really understood that in order to change oneself, you couldn't just say, I no longer want to be this person, the person I was raised to be, the little girl raised to be a certain kind of feminine character who defers to people, who's submissive, who feels insecure, who doesn't feel entitled, and so on. We knew that we no longer wanted to be that person. And so if one wanted to change deeply, we had to look to the unconscious.
I think people came to see that bringing change wasn't just about changing physical, social aspects of society. I think people started to recognise that change actually maybe has a psychological dimension, an internal dimension as well.
What could you do? What could you do if you let go, Jimmy, baby? What could you do if you let go, Jimmy?
I was very political right from my teenage. I come from a very political family, and I spent very intensive 10 years from the age of 17 on, utterly involved in outward politics. I was also engaging in a lot of personal relationships, and a girlfriend of mine, German girl, who's also very active in politics, committed suicide. And I just thought I could go that way so easily, because I so often felt suicidal. And I started to think, just a minute, we're in a very radical left-wing movement with very radical left-wing boyfriends, and she was unhappy enough to do that, and I'm unhappy enough nearly to do that. So I thought, it's not all out there, it's also inside.
Having decided to devote her life to therapy, Jenny James became a follower of Wilhelm Reich, an associate of Sigmund Freud's. Significantly, Reich was a communist whose left-wing goal was to adapt therapy to make it available to the working class. More controversially, Jenny also followed Californian psychotherapist Arthur Janoff. He had developed a therapy known as primal scream, in the course of which patients relived the trauma of their own birth.
It's the only place I had. That was mine. That was safe.
Despite having no formal training, Jenny set up a primal therapy commune in Donegal in Ireland. At the same time, she established a sister commune in a squat at number 12 Villa Road. The idea was that therapy should not be the preserve of the moneyed bourgeoisie, but should be available free of charge to anybody.
I was called the black sheep of the... Oh, I'd brought the therapy movement into disrepute. This came from the big posh therapy centres, and what it really boiled down to is I wasn't asking money. And I was saying that anyone can do therapy if they go through things themselves. They don't need some posh training. It's just a question of human empathy and, of course, knowing yourself really, really well, being very honest with yourself. And so I just opened the doors.
It was primal scream, and it did involve screaming, letting, which was, sorry, I'm not laughing at that. I mean, it was, it's very genuinely felt, and it was about letting out your inner anguish. It was noisy.
That's what I say to you.
It's extremely organic and well worked out. Nothing's false. It is something that comes out, but when things do really come out from very far down in the body, they can sound quite animal-like. They can be quite scary.
What wasn't nice was that they were all naked while they were doing it. So when you're 6 and there's a big group of people rolling around the floor naked, you're thinking, what is going on here? And that was my friend's mum. She was the one that did it, Babs. And you should think, oh, it's so strange, because you're playing out in the garden, you're popping for a drink, and someone's in the kitchen totally naked.
Helen Russell joined the Primal Scream commune in Villa Road in 1976.
Jenny is very charismatic and very, very strong. Her personality is very, very strong. It's like she has an aura like this, you know. Our one-to-one sessions were extraordinary and incredibly valuable, and I wouldn't ever regret any of that or want it to be any different. But the downside was the group living, everybody, and the thing was, you know, we're all there, we're all feeling really vulnerable, we're all looking for ourselves, we're all looking for friends and support and home and family and answers. And so everybody was vulnerable, and everybody was at different stages of this exploration, this journey. And there was no account taken of that in any structured way or in any way, really.
Throughout the years, what would happen is now and then some of the sort of the stronger characters would actually cross the line. It's a metaphorical line. They cross the line, come in, get involved. We had a lot of very lovely-looking women in our commune, and they'd form relationships and they start to look at it.
So was that what drew them in, that was the women?
I would say that was probably, obviously, a first hook, if you like. But then they'd see, and it's very interesting what we do. They'd see that, and they'd see that it worked, and they'd get interested. It was a deeper way of living.
I remember that the Primal Screamers, you know, or the story was, I think it was probably true too, that the Primal Screamers sort of sent vixens out onto the street to seduce the handsome boys who were on the left and to get them to scream instead of, you know, agitate or something.
I don't think it was that organised. It sounds a bit of a conspiracy theory to me.
So you weren't lured in by a woman?
I was lured in by a woman, actually, so you never know, do you? But I don't think she was acting on orders. I think she just fancied me.
It always reminded me of that film, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in that one would wake up and discover that, you know, somebody else from the street had been sort of captured by the primal scream.
In May 1976, Pete Cooper crossed the road and went to live at number 12.
There was the view that the personal is political, and that the way you have relationships with other people is actually as significant as significant a part of social transformation as the actual kind of the institutions of the state and what have you. So I'd sort of resigned from this sort of leadership position in the street in favour of a kind of inward journey. And it seems strange now because it seems one was Marx, one was Freud, but actually Reich seemed to offer a position to. I didn't think of it as being as less revolutionary. I thought of it as possibly more, a further step in a revolutionary direction.
Was he lost to the IMG at that point?
I would say so. Yeah. No, it took me by surprise. It really did. Because you spent some time railing against these personal politics people, and then it became one.
In a sense, I felt he joined it in rather sort of similar, with a rather similar impulse that he joined the IMG, and that was that he was looking for something that was going to sort of really engage him.
This continuing search for a belief system led Pete Cooper to embrace ideas that were far removed from his rigorous left-wing analysis.
Along with the therapy, there was a whole ragbag of kind of new age humanistic ideas. For example, better eyesight without glasses. So I stopped wearing my glasses for a while, believing that my short-sightedness would go as my energy flowed more freely.
What I wanted was my hands to grow, right? And because I'm a piano player, And so what I wanted was my hands to grow, and I'd got this idea that my hand had stopped growing when I was about 9, which was when my little sister was born. You know, you put these 2s and 2s together and you come out with 79. And so I have no idea of the truth of this, or not really, but it was something that Janov wrote about in his books, that people had gone through such deep therapeutic healing that parts of their bodies which had been stunted, unstunted themselves. And, you know, they kind of picked up your life where it had got stopped. And, you know, so I had this daft idea. And to me, it was a really real idea that my hands would grow. My hands didn't grow.
Helen Russell left the Screamers and crossed the road in the opposite direction. Embracing the political fervour of her fellow Villa Roaders, she became passionately involved in the politics of defending the street.
There's another bedroom upstairs, but the person whose room it is isn't here, and I don't really want to go up and invade their space because it's not really like that. Do you want to come out? So, and this is my room. Yeah, it's all right, this room. Although nowadays the pigeons keep me awake.
By 1976, there were at least 200 squatters living on Villa Road. As temperatures rose during the exceptionally hot summer of that year, the confrontation between squatters and the council intensified. Under threat of eviction, the squatters on Villa Road decided to defend the houses by barricading themselves in. They were now living behind their own iron curtain in a state of siege.
The barricades came about because the Lambeth Council wanted to demolish the whole of Villa Road. This had been their long-term plan. They couldn't do it because we were living in the houses. But they, I think, probably served eviction orders on us. And we decided that we were going to stay. And so we thought, well, we'll barricade ourselves in. The bailiffs will come, but if they can't get into the houses, they can't evict us. So that was another sort of form of direct action. We would scour Lambeth looking for wood, sheets of corrugated iron, barbed wire. There were a lot of building sites that went short of things in those days, and the ingenuity of people to get all these materials together was phenomenal. The barricade in front of number 7, number 9 Villa Road was very beautiful because we painted it. It was a carefully tended barricade.
Victory Villa was the big sort of slogan. Property is theft. That was another of the big slogans that was up on the Villa Road barricades, and we were all into that. There was a kind of sort of anarchist tinge, I think, to the kind of Villa Road collective political will.
New arrival on the street was committed anarchist Tony Cook, who became Helen Russell's boyfriend. He believed in continual struggle and built his barricades accordingly.
The first thing I and the two chaps who moved in with me began to do was obviously to sort out the barricades on our house. We had almost like triple barricades of corrugated sheets and joists, and then more corrugated sheets, and then joists and props, and all put together with 6-inch nails. And then on top of the barricade was barbed wire and a gutter. The plan being that we would fill the gutter with petrol and have bits of burning tyre, so we'd have a sheet of flame to meet the bailiffs before they could even get to the house itself. And we also had this huge, great big wooden ball, like on the ball and chain, but this was made out of wood with big 6-inch nails stuck in it on the end of a rope that you could swing, and it would lazily move in front of the house as another disincentive to come anywhere near us.
Sitting at a piano in a basement behind the barricades, Helen Russell worked through the night composing music, deeply affected by the threat to the street.
It was the most special time of my life, actually. It crossed my mind that I should do a setting of the Requiem Mass. I'd learned Latin at school, I was very bad at it, But I loved the poetry of it. I loved the sound of it. And there's a line in the offertorium, Tantus labor non sit casus.